Good evening and welcome to Sunset News on this Tuesday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Aina Raiza Kweyom. In the news tonight, the great white shark is one of the ultimate marine apex predators, only superseded in some places by orca. There is evidence that great white sharks are present in Namibian waters from sighting at Grossbach and the lagoon in Luderitz. There is also indirect evidence from encounters of Hottentots Bay and Wolf Bay by divers. Fresh shark teeth recovered from diamond gravel pumped from the sea floor of Grossbach. A seal was photographed in Baker's Bay, which has survived a great white shark attack. In our next story, a scientific study has objectively assessed the CBNRM nature conservation concept in Namibia and has identified a flaw in the approach in which a scientific statement about the success of the community-based natural resources management are not always underscored by independent research. Instead, there seems to be an interdependency between the affected communities that depend financially from the conservancy while acting as custodians of wildlife, and scientists from different stakeholder groups as well as politicians who all have a need to report successes in order to retain their relevancy rather than admit shortcomings. Now, in our next story, the mayor of the city of Windhoek, LPM councillor, said governors denies that she or any of the residents of Okahanja Park made any insulting gestures or were rude to course members of the Namibian police to handcuff her on Monday and throw her into the back of a police bakkie. Here she confirms that she has opened a case against the involved officials after she was released upon the insistence of her officer assigned to her protection. Republicans Agweto Craig reports that it has since emerged that the police reservists and two members of the Men and Women Network involved in detaining the mayor have also opened cases of crimen injuria and racial discrimination against her. Let's have a look.
In the statement issued by the police, they say that, Your Worship, the mayor made an offensive gesture. They referred to it as middle finger. Could you specifically tell us about that? Did that happen?
No, that did not happen. I never showed a middle finger. I never said any offensive words towards them. I identified them as police officers because they were driving a Namibian police car. And that is how I would not swear at them, or I wouldn't react it. That is not in my nature.
Did any of the people who were with you make such a gesture? It was reported that the mayor made a case at the police.
Yes.
What exactly did you?
It was unlawful arrest, intent to harm, assault, and there's two more actually that was added yesterday. So the case number has been registered against the Namibian police by the Namibian police.
The Capricorn Group announced their new Chief Financial Officer on Tuesday. Yolanda Nell has more on this story.
The Capricorn Group announced this morning the appointment of Johan Maas as the new Group Chief Financial Officer, and he will assume the new role from the 1st of July. Johan is a chartered accountant by profession. He brings to this role a wealth of industry-related financial experience. This is what he had to say.
I am thrilled with the opportunity to take on this new challenge in these exciting, albeit uncertain economic times. I look forward to work with the Capricorn Group Executive Management Team and to contribute to the continued growth and success of the group that will ensure that we create value for all our shareholders and our stakeholders. I am blessed to be part of this truly Namibian financial services group, and I look forward to the journey with all my Capricorn Group colleagues.
He joined the Capricorn Group in April 2018. Since then, he has led the group's financial reporting for the last 3 years, including playing a big role in the production of the group's integrated annual report.
In community news tonight, we talk about the history of the Ivis Bridge after the break.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact my.na at synergy.com.na. My.na Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
In community news tonight, Padlang, a Facebook page, recently shared information on the history of the Aves Bridge and what it meant for the towns back then. Let's have a look.
The Facebook page Padlangs recently posted amazing photos of the Aves Bridge, which is 100 years old this year. It is one of Namibia's most prominent bridges, under which every visitor arriving from the airport must pass on his way to the city centre. Although the bridge may go unnoticed by the 21st century traveller, in the 1920s, the building of the railway from Windhoek to Gobabis and the construction of the Aves Bridge on the outskirts of the city were major milestone events. Up until then, the journey to the eastern reaches of the country included a 20-kilometre section undertaken by ox wagons over the Ouwes Mountains and across the Klein Windhoek River. The terrain was so challenging that the oxen needed to outspan, quench their thirst, and rest at the Kaps farm before they could continue with their journey. The construction of the first 27 kilometers of a railway line from Windhoek to Kaps farm began in August 1921. The bridge was completed in 1922, making it 100 years old this year. It formed an important section of the Windhoek to Gobabis railway line that was built by the South African Railway, linking the cattle-rich farming area of the east to the interior and from there to South Africa. The railway line was completed in 1929 and the infrastructure, buildings and water points were completed over the following year. The official opening took place on the 6th of November 1930. The first railway line in Namibia was a 21-kilometre track that was constructed in 1895 to transport pelts and guano to awaiting ships at Cape Kaas, north of Swakopmund. The outbreak of rinderpest in 1897 had a devastating effect on the oxen and ox wagon transport, which until then had been the country's main means of transport. It motivated the construction of the railway line from Swakopmund to Windhoek, which reached the capital in 1902. Between 1905 and 1907, the Lutherans to Keetmanshoop line was constructed during the Nama uprising to convey supplies to troops.
In our story of the day, we look at the 14th BRICS Summit taking place in Beijing after the break. We are back with your favorite segment of Sunset News, a story of the day. Now, the China Republic Democracy Association held a Linja 7 Salon on Monday on the 14th BRICS Summit in Beijing. This initiative is to provide a channel to better understand China. The Director General of the Department of International Economic Affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in China, Li Kehin, and the South African Ambassador to China, Siyabonga Cwele, shared highlights from these key events. Enzo Amwele has more.
We do face a very serious world dynamic, and the crisis in Europe, the Ukraine crisis, and the strategic rivalry, or the so-called democracy versus authoritarian regime, and economic and development downturn. So I think in the world there are very strong calls for addressing these challenges. How do we uphold peace, equity and justice? And how do we respond to the aspiration for development and cooperation? And how do we advance economic recovery? Is multilateralism still valid? So this is a very important questions. I think the events of last week answered these queries. So first, on the June 22nd, the Business Forum, President Xi talked about a series of major issues we face in our times. Where is the world headed? War or peace? Development or poverty? Openness or closeness? Cooperation or confrontation? President Xi said,
first countries to propose this, and we got strong support from all of these parties. Yes, just a few days ago, the other Friday, other week, the WTO negotiations were concluded. Yes, the outcomes are still positive for developing countries. We didn't get everything we're looking for because we're looking at the issue of treatment, vaccine, and diagnostics and equipment. But we got something on the vaccine. Much as this is late, but it's still very helpful for developing countries because it will really help us to deal with new variants which may be coming on. And the third one was the issue of, which has been mentioned by the DG, which is very critical. This cooperation of BRICS on the research, vaccine research and development phase among ourselves. We started with these virtual centers for cooperation, not only for this pandemic, but also looking at future pandemics, because these pandemics are becoming more frequent. They are no more happening every 100 years now, they are becoming more frequent. So we have to better prepare ourselves for the pandemics, because clearly for this pandemic, I don't think the world was better prepared to deal with. So it remains very important because it's not only for BRICS, as DJ said, it's got it opened the access for other countries to cooperate better with developing countries. I think that's what brings hope to most of the countries in Africa and other developing area regions. So those are some of the things.
In economic news after the break, we look at Russia. Let's have a look at our economic news for tonight. 4 months, Russia had found paths around the penalties imposed after the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine. But at the end of the day on Sunday, the grace period, about $100 million of trapped interest payments due on the 27th of May expired. The route to this point has been far from normal, as Russia has the resources to pay its bills and tried to do so, but was blocked by the sanctions. Those restrictions also means there is a huge uncertainty about what comes next and about how investors can go about getting their money. Coming up next, economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is up against all major currencies and trades at 60 Namibian dollars 4 cents to the US dollars and at 60 Namibian dollars 90 cents to the euro. It trades at 90 Namibian dollars 61 cents to the pound and 2 Namibian dollars 39 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. Gold is down with 0.25% and trading at $1,820 and 20 cents per one. Brent crude oil is up by 1.16%. Now, after the break, we bring you international news.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is, bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navraag, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
In international news tonight, at least 46 people have been found dead in an abandoned lorry on the outskirts of San Antonio, Texas. A fire official said 16 people, including 4 children, had also been taken to the hospital. Africa News reported that the patients were hot to the touch. They were suffering from heat stroke, heat exhaustion. No signs of water was in the vehicle. It was a refrigerated tractor trailer, but there was no visible working AC unit on the ring. 3 people are being held in custody and the investigation has been handed over to the federal agents. San Antonio, which is 250 kilometers from the U.S.-Mexican border, is a major transit route for people smugglers. Human traffickers often use lorries to transport undocumented migrants after meeting them in remote areas once they have managed to cross into the United States. Now, after the break, we take a look at tomorrow's weather predictions.
NMH Ad Spotter spots the daily adverts in all NMH printed editions from the daily newspapers to the retail specials as well as weekly, monthly and yearly focus editions. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact adspotter@synergy.com.na. NMH Ad Spotter. Spot it, like it, buy it.
As announced before the break, let's look at tomorrow's weather predictions. The partly cloudy weather continues in the capital, Gobabis, Otjiwarongo and Tsumeb. The east weather is expected to continue along the coast with the minimum and maximum temperatures in Henties Bay. Walvis Bay and Swakopmund are on 19 degrees and 26 degrees respectively. Now, after the break, we bring you some exciting news from the world of sports. Stay with us.
Careers Bistro focuses on the movers and shakers in the corporate world. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
The Evening Review is a daily interview-based talk show that dissects and expounds on current affairs as they occur in Namibia. The show aims at reaching Namibians of all age groups who seek better understanding of the state of current affairs in the country. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms, Namibian Sun and Namibia Media Holdings. The Evening Review focuses on interviews, latest news and up-to-the-minute current events. Contact Evening at synergy.com.na. Evening Review, unpacking today's pertinent issues.
The world of sports is always packed with good news. Tonight we start with Namibian marathon runner Helalia Johannes has shelved the decision to retire and will continue competing until her body tells her to stop. In our next story, the Namibian Equestrian Federation is sending 2 riders to the 2022 FEI Jumping World Challenge final, which will take place in Bulgaria. In our next story, Julino Sporting President Nelson Lewis said the vision of the female team is to develop them up from the lower leagues until they become one of the biggest clubs in the country. After the break, we return with highlights. Stay with Sunset News.
We Talk brings you community news that lies at the heart of Windhoek residents. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact wetalk@synergy.com.na. You live, we talk.
Every weekday, we recap our top stories just in case you've missed them. The great white shark is one of the ultimate marine apex predators, only superseded in some places by orca. There is evidence that the great white shark are present in Namibian waters, from a sighting at Grossbunch and the lagoon in Luderitz. For months, Russia had found paths around the penalties imposed after Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine. But at the end of the day on Sunday, the grace period on about $100 million of trapped interest payments due on the 27th of May expired. The route to this point has been far from normal, as Russia has the resources to pay its bill and tried to do so but was blocked by the sanctions. Namibian marathon runner Hilaria Johannes has shelved the decision to retire and will continue competing until her body tells her to stop. And with that, we've come to the end of tonight's broadcast. Please do make sure you join Sunset News on Facebook on all of NMA's platforms on weekdays, as well as on our website OneUp2. Sunset News also screens on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 94 every weekday from 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm Aina Raiza Kweyo. This has been Sunset News. Please don't end your day without us. Good night.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. We crunch the numbers that matter, decipher statistics that shape Namibian lives, discuss smart money, and explore the impact of global development locally. Money makes the world go round, so catch us on NTV, OneUp2.com, and the Facebook platforms of the Namibian Sun, Republikane, Allgemeine Zeitung, and Namibia Media Holdings. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.